Hey everyone. So, day 33 of my transformation journey, and um, it was a day of reflection. It's a day of reflection. Um, Went out to see a friend last night. Um, it's actually her birthday today, but I celebrated with her last night because I've got something important going in the morning, so I didn't want to be out late. And we had a good time, but it was interesting that when I looked at what she wanted to do for her birthday, it was all about going out and getting drunk. And I remember those years, I had many of them, where that was my idea of a good time. That was my idea of fun. Woohoo, let's go have some fun. Let's go get stinking drunk. And Lord only knows what happens after that. And I look back and I spent most of my adulthood doing that. Um, and God, it's sad to think on it because while I definitely have some really good stories that came from it, um, not much else. Not much else. For all the traveling that I wanted to do, really didn't do much of that. The things that I wanted to build or things I wanted to have in my life, didn't do a whole lot of that. And I say that, and I've been making very good money for a while and pouring it into bars, pouring it into things that did not help me, that in many ways made my life worse, made it harder for me to connect with myself, made it harder for me to connect with other people, um, made it harder to stabilize my life because somehow I was always getting over the next or the last high. Um, it's kind of disappointing to think about it, actually, because that was a lot of years. That was a lot of good years that I could have used to build the dreams that I still had, to build myself, to go and see more of the world, to go and do things that I always said I wanted to do, and just didn't. Didn't. I think back to when I was in my probably early mid 20s, and I was rooming in a house in Philadelphia. And I had a roommate briefly. I think he was there for maybe 3 or 4 months. And I thought this guy was just the weirdest guy I had ever known. Literally, in his room, he had a bed, a real cheap dresser, a TV, and a video game system. That was it. He didn't go out at all. He hardly ate much of anything. And he would keep matzah in his room. Um, and, every once in a while, he would make pasta. And I remember I talked to him a couple times. We'd, sometimes play games in his room at night. And I'd be like, dude, what's your deal? Like, what? Are you like practicing to become a monk or something? Like, why do you have nothing? I'm like, I know you make good money on your job. Why do you make nothing? He goes, oh, I never told you. I said, no, you never told me. What's the deal? He goes, yeah, I go to New Zealand twice a year. And I go and stay for 3 weeks, a month, however long my money will last me. And then I come back here and work and save up all my money until I can go back. And I went, wow, okay. I mean, I'd always heard New Zealand was beautiful. And it's definitely on my list of places I'd like to see one day. But I just couldn't imagine because he was spending literally between 9 and 10 months a year living on nothing. like really next to nothing, in order to be able to get to New Zealand twice a year. And I asked him, I'm like, so what do you have going on in New Zealand that, you do all of this to get back every, 2 or 3 times a year? And he's like, nothing. I just love it there. I just love it there. I'm at peace there. In some ways, I feel at home there. But all I can get is a travel visa. They're not accepting new citizens. So unless I get a job there, and there's very few jobs there that do what I do, unless I get a job there, I can't stay. So I stay as long as I can, whether it's my travel visa runs out or my money runs out. And then I come back and earn enough money to go and visit again. And I asked him, I said, for what you go through here, just living completely bare bones when, financially you absolutely don't have to. Is it worth it? And he looked at me as serious and as straight faced as you can imagine and said, oh, yeah, it's completely worth it. He said, I found a place where I am fully me. And I didn't understand what he meant by that at the time. I was not nearly so far along in my understanding of true self versus ego self. But he clearly had. He had reached a point where he said, this place brings out the true me. And that's something that I'm willing to sacrifice for, I'm willing to do without for, so that I can have that experience again. And I just thought about him earlier today. I was sitting on the lake, and for some reason that dude came to my mind. And I remember that conversation, me sitting in his room with the chair I pulled in because he didn't even have another chair. And I remember thinking, wow. I mean, we were young. We were like mid-20s, maybe. And he got it. I mean, he got it. He knew where himself was. He knew what he needed to do to be more fully him, and he did whatever he had to do to get to that place. And I'm sure if New Zealand ever lifted the ban on new citizenry, he's probably living there full time now. So part of the reason I brought that up was the other part of my reflection and sitting at the lake was really just looking around and kind of asking the universe, I hear about this abundance. I hear that we live in abundance, but I don't see it. I don't see what you mean by that abundance. I don't see this money falling from trees. I don't see this opportunity falling from the sky. And I heard, just look around. Just look around. So I looked at the lake and I heard, what do you see? So I see water. So then look up at the sky. So I looked up at the sky. So what do you see? Well, I was looking at the clouds. I said, I see more water. Is the water above any different than the water below? I said, well, kind of. It's in mist and vapor form as a cloud. But fundamentally, no. There's no real difference. As if the water from above falls down to the water in the lake, does it become the same thing? And I said, yes. It's all water. I said, okay. Then I looked at the waves on the lake, and everything's moving in one direction. He said, what makes those waves move? And why does everything move in the same direction? And at first I said, wind. And then I felt a breeze blowing the other direction from the waves. And I'm like, okay, wait, not wind. I said, I don't know, are they moving to land? And I looked around and I saw land that the water was flowing away from. I went, nope, not land. I said, gravity. It's moving to lower points. I said, yep. I said, if the water is moving from high to low and gravity is pulling it to where it's ultimately going to end up in the ocean, does the water have to fight to get there? No. The water's just doing what it naturally does because of gravity. I said, okay. Now, what about the wind? You said that you thought the wind could move the waves. And I said, well, yeah, wind probably could move the surface waves, but it would take a lot of wind. And even that would only last for a little bit of time. Ultimately, the gravity is still going to pull the water down to its lowest level. I said, so which is more powerful? So, well, gravity is. It's constant. It's always acting on that water. And so, even if something disrupts it and pushes it in a different direction, the gravity is still going to pull it to its lowest point. So, that's exactly right. Said, now let's look at the ground around the lake. What do you see? I said, well, I see grass, I see bushes, I see trees, I see buildings, I see sand, mud, sticks. I looked in the water, I see turtles, fish, ducks. I said, yeah. Even with gravity pulling on it, doesn't water feed all of these things? Doesn't water care for all of these things, allow for these things to live, gives them what they need to grow and to survive? Yeah. I said, okay, do you see it now? Do you see the abundance that's all around you? The same forces that act on that water and allow that water to sustain everything around it also work on you and sustain you. And if it just gives in to the force that's pulling it, there's no effort involved. It's just doing what it's meant to do, which is keep moving, sustain everything around it, and getting to where it needs to go. I saw it. I saw it then. And in many ways, it was right on time, because tomorrow is a bit of a turning point for me. Tomorrow is where I start the first of my companies in earnest. Tomorrow is where I work for me, and I work to make my dreams come true, not just to make somebody else rich. I work to build. I work to give. I work to sustain. It's the first time in my life I can say that. It's the first time in my life that I can say that I am not going to work specifically because of someone else. I'm going to work for me. It feels good. It feels good to even just be able to say that. To be able to say that I'm working on my own dreams, that I'm building wealth for my benefit, not someone else's, and that I'm building my dreams with my own two hands. I think I got a big answer today. I think today was a big answer because I was really struggling with that. I was really struggling with that. But seeing it from that perspective, it brought me calm. It brought me a calm that I can take into my days, take into my endeavors, take into my work. And I needed that. All right, well, there's still many more questions, and hopefully the universe will provide many more answers. Um, and we'll just keep plugging along. Have a great day, everyone. God bless.